Hello everyone, it's I, Mr. Big T. Anderson, and this is another fanfiction reading. This is FFVIII. It was one of those nights by This Is Fun, What Took So Long. Now, as I said before, actually right now I haven't picked art yet, so yeah, that's why I haven't actually said it. Still kind of working this out, sorry. But it'll be in the title. So, and links are down below. So if you like the art, hit the links. You know what to do. Off we go! The constant ringing of the doorbell echoed through the suite. Jerking Squall into wakefulness, a brief glance at the clock told him it was 2 a.m., and Squall mentally checked the sorts of things that would be considered worth waking him for at such a time. None of them were good, and all of them were vital for Garden's continued operation. Even his experienced hands were shaking with nerves as he fumbled around in the dark for his two most crucial items, the Lionheart gunblade and his leather jacket. Not necessarily in that order. Before he rushed out of his bedroom and across a strange room he didn't know the purpose for, that was still part of his new quarters all the same. A short while after they'd saved time from the sorceress, Sid had taken extended leave and named Squall the acting headmaster in his place, as well as the all but named Garden Master, and with that, Squall had moved into the Garden's executive suite. That priorly was held by one of the bizarrely attired Garden faculty. Squall had, of course, been very proud to be taking Sid's place, right up until he realized just how much paperwork came with the job. He was now usually working 14-hour days, not even counting the time spent training. But this was obviously not the best time to reminisce. As he reached the door, he paused but a moment as he junctioned his strongest spells, Ultima, Meteor, Meltdown, Holy Haze, Triple, etc. Since the only ones he kept junctioned at night were abilities and special and strength defensives, to ensure he wasn't taken easily in his sleep, and he opened the door to find Zell on the other side. He was bouncing on his feet in quite a state, and with his hoverboard strapped to his back, his frantic posture looked really silly. "Come quickly, it's awful! They're all gone!" Squall's mirth at the sight of him died on the spot. Images of his friends being drugged and carted off in their sleep flashed through his mind, completely removing any remaining traces of sleepiness before he thought the better of it. Had it been that Zell would have likely been the first to succumb. Zell had never had any stop status resistance junctioned, while Selphie, like himself, had a ribbon active. And Renoa had 100 stops on special defense, so chances were it probably wasn't his friends who had vanished. That still didn't bode well, however. Zell, slow down a bit and start making sense. Squall grabbed his shoulders. He'd have preferred not to do anything so touchy, but he didn't see an alternative. He would have to be Commander Lionheart right now. He could be the usual Squall again when it was done. "I checked the supplies and it was gone. What should we do?" Okay. It wasn't people that disappeared. It was items. Squall's thoughts changed to someone having stolen all the weapons and ammo from one of the storage rooms, and worried about what would have happened if they were used to, say, a shell bomb. He hoped he could catch whoever it was before any real damage could be done. 1 second. Squall activated a monitor in his room and called for the front gate. "Has anyone taken anything out of the building in the last half an hour?" he asked the Seed, unfortunate enough to have punishment duty filling in for the gate man late at night. Certainly not out here, Commander. Nor has a car left the garage. I suppose it's possible someone walked out. I think I'd see or hear that, but I guess it's just as possible if they were lucky, to say nothing of the hole in the wall down in the quad. But I don't think anything could be carried through that gap with someone. Luck might possibly be on their side after all. Squall pulled up the admin network, which only the senior guard administrators could access, and typed one word into the PC: lockdown. Amber lights started flashing across the garden as well as the official outer exits closed and secured themselves. Well, the turnstiles stopped working at least, And the alert seeds that Squall made sure were awake at night, in case a sudden time-sensitive assignment came up, proceeded straight to the second-floor armory, before they would go to the briefing room as they were trained to do in the scenario. Squall, meanwhile, asked Zell to show him what was missing firsthand. The two of them raced along and around corridors, almost bumping into Instructor Aki and Dr. Katawaki on their rounds just before the turn-off to the training center. "What's the crisis, Commander? Why are the alarms blaring?" Since Squall had taken over Garden while Sid was on extended leave, he and the strict teacher had been getting along better. Aki had grasped that while Squall didn't like the more severe punishments it was his reluctant duty to dish out, he was okay with regular ones that instructors could give on their own, and now that Squall was managing Garden, he had come to appreciate the need for discipline. In fact, in the last month, their only disagreement had been over Irvine. "I don't fully know. All I can tell you is that Zell kept repeating 'it's gone' over and over again. At the moment, we're on our way to see just what it is." "Do you require any assistance?" "I think we can manage that part. I'll tell you what, though. The girl at the gate said that nobody had gone through here, but do you think you could check the hole in the fence at the quad? If there's no footsteps, guard it. Make sure nobody slips through." "I think I can manage that." Before anyone actually moved, however, the nearby door swung open. And Squall had his gunblade raised faster than most people could blink. 100 haste on speed, after all. Before his eyes and brain caught up, he took in the sight of one of his seeds, a rank 5 named Chad Clint. Unremarkable, but okay for the more boring assignments like guarding Balam's gate. And at 6'5", he was an impressive sight for bouncer jobs. A girl he didn't know the name of, but he knew both from sight, and her uniform was one of the cadets from the year below him. Also, he'd played against her just enough that she favored page 3 cards. Yes, he remembered, and both looked rather disheveled from his uniform in need of ironing, and her blonde hair seeming somewhat matted. "Don't hurt us!" "What are you doing here? Speak!" Squall was in Commander Leonhardt mode. We were training. Had an unfortunate run-in with the two Rexar. We were just on our way out when the alarms went off. Yeah." Chad was stammering his answers, and while that was usually a sign of hiding something, the fact that both of them had started to blush gave Squall the impression he had nothing to do with any stolen item. If the way she was looking at them was any indicator that Dr. Katawaki understood that too, and possibly Aki, sadly Zell had missed that detail. Jas, is it?" She nodded. "Yes." "Why are your trousers inside out?" Squall hadn't noticed that, and it was just the sort of thing he desperately wanted not to see. And with her gun belt blocking the view of the most obvious parts like the label, how had Zell spotted that? He must be more observant than Squall usually gave him credit for. At one point she got bitten hard, and we wanted to make sure the potion had worked, so she removed them and must have got it wrong when she put it back on. Again, his answers were plausible, but unlikely, and as Chad continued to shuffle and play his fingers along his warhammer, Zell determined to continue his interrogation. "Oh, cut it out, Chad. You know as well as I do that potions have never had any issue. So I'm forced to conclude that it was you. You're the ones that took them from..." "Zell, seriously? Shut it." Squall turned back to him, not quite believing what he was hearing. "Just stop. Now." "Don't tell me you believe them," Zell asked in disbelief. Squall took a few deep breaths before replying. "Zell, a clearly ragged couple has emerged from the training center and its attached, inverted commas, secret romantic area at 2 in the morning. Even if purely for the sake of discussion their story is untrue, if your mind sees all that evidence and your first conclusion is thief, then you're even more repressed than I am, and I will have to recommend the library committee hand deliver you some books to explain some more likely possibilities. I dare say your girlfriend would be more than happy to fill you in on any..." "Right! Got where you're going with this, thank you." "Chad, Jas, why would you lie about that? And why, Squall, apart from your usual disinterest, would you not want them to say it? Give me 5, guys." Instructor Aki, would you please recite for Zell's benefit the related passage of Garden's rules? Gladly. Mr. Dink, the rule as viewable from the PC Bulletin is any student who engages in sexual promiscuity will be expelled from Garden. So assuming the commander doesn't want to expel Jasmine and downgrade Chad's pay to rank 0 on the headmaster's behalf, he's willing to give their highly dubious story the benefit of the doubt. And you... Zell asked quietly. Chad gripped his girlfriend's hand. It's not up to me. I can issue detentions, but I can't expel anyone from the grounds. I can only request whoever sat in the head's chair does so, and given that Commander Leonhardt, I'm fairly certain he'll refuse. And while you might not believe it, even I would rather not lose a student because someone who only earned his gold uniform because Norg was desperate for recruits after you left, for Galbradia decided that he was too cheap to rent a hotel room. It's like he doesn't realize half the rules are written to promote craftiness. That said, Chad, you are demoted 1 rank for violation of proper alert protocols. Jas, for collection of uniform violations, you will serve 1 detention with me. They both breathed sighs of relief as they hugged each other, as did Squall. It seemed Aki would not be pestering him into expelling anyone after all. Please make sure that in said detention you go over basic stealth and recon. Not looking through the keyhole before opening the door was a rookie mistake. Commander Leonhardt, they've assembled in the briefing room. Shu's voice came over the speaker system. She wasn't a member of his night squad, but she'd been teaching the classes in night missions twice a week, so the other day she was his choice for manning the desk in case a call came in at the late hour. Squall wasn't sure how much he liked having Shu as one of the Garden's instructors, but the appointment had been one of the last things it had done, so there wasn't much he could do about it. He did, however, like her as both an operative and an operator, so he was very thankful that she was supervising the night shift. Squall turned around and walked in front of a security camera and spoke to it. Talk to me, Shu. Anyone else other than us in the corridors? That's a no, Commander. Shu, send Mark and Corona to guard the garages. Aki, are you still here? Yes, Commander. Take Chad with you to the quad as reinforcements. We've wasted more than enough time here. Doctor, take Jas to the infirmary. Check her over against the very slim chance they were telling the truth. And then find an excuse to keep her for overnight observation. I don't want a cadet wandering around on their own. Shu, stay where you are with somebody. Don't care who on the cameras. And should anyone appear, direct me and Zell their way. Split the remaining 6 people in 2 groups of 3. The instructions are to methodically check everything that the cameras don't cover that wouldn't have been locked. Training center, lift, my office, everything else on the 2nd floor, bathrooms, larder, in short, complete works. Go now, all of you. Zell, lead the way to where it was taken. Expecting danger with every step, Squall followed. As Zell went around another corridor, then down another, until they were outside the library, and Zell was gesturing frantically. Squall followed his line of vision, stared a little harder, and was filled with a growing sense of disbelief. Let me get this straight. You woke me up at 2 a.m. That rare time I have when I'm actually able to get some sleep, allowing me to believe something truly horrible had happened, and allowed it to cascade so it's causing all sorts of chaos. All because the library hallway vending machine has run out of mini choco bars. Squall's voice was flat even by his standards. It's a disaster. Fix it, please. Squall tried to find a way to express his displeasure. Surely there must be an option somewhere. The old garden faculty, difficult though they were, had never once had this problem, of course. Okay, Zell, here's what I'm gonna do. You're demoted 5 seed ranks for being down here out of hours. Just because none of the faculty are here to stand in the way of the corridor any longer doesn't mean the rule against being here after dark has been repealed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going back to bed. I suggest come morning that you go to Balam and acquire another few crates. You're lucky I'm not assigning you to the Safeguard Idol Singer mission for this. Crisis averted, or more precisely, false alarm discovered. Squall lifted the lockdown. Lights returned to normal. Exits unlocked. Squall raced to the briefing room to recall his alert seeds before he went back to bed, undisturbed this time. Enjoying nice dreams of fighting abyss worms with Renoa, Selfie, and for some reason Nita. But morning came all too early. After a meager 3 hours of sleep, he was already forcing himself out of bed. He could cancel early morning classes, give the students a break, which was only fair given their sleep had been disturbed by the alarm too. And he shifted the garden wake-up call back an hour after leaving a message on the PCs and main notice boards to explain what was happening. His own nigh-endless paperwork was stockpiled in his office, and it wouldn't do itself. And if he didn't get at least some done before breakfast, then he would likely get out of his office until at least 10 that night. Sadly, though, there was nothing quite like processing the admin department's stationary procurement forms to lull an already tired individual back to sleep, so when Squall next looked at the clock, it was already midday. Hoping that some sunlight would help him wake up, Squall wandered to an outside window and gazed out. But down below him, he couldn't believe his eyes. Garden's rules were being broken left, right, and center, and Squall wondered if he somehow cancelled all classes rather than just that one. It was then he realized he left one of Garden's sharpest eyes for rule breaking, guarding a fallen down glorified fencing panel all night. It was one of those days. So, hopefully you enjoyed the story. Have a good one. Ta-ta for now.